What if you could buy a veggie from the store, eat it, then regrow it instead of buying more? Today, me and Tuck are going to show you what happens when you regrow veggies from the store in a raised bed. Back in spring, I grabbed a glass Pyrex dish and added some water to it to soak my veggie scraps before planting them out. I will be growing cabbage from the base, 2 carrot tops, the base of an onion, a piece of ginger that I grabbed from the store, the base of a lettuce, the tops of 2 beets, and some turmeric as well. Then I added a bit more water to let them soak. I also grabbed a couple cloves of garlic, and I had a potato from the store that was already starting to grow. I also grabbed a small onion that I had because I wanted to see what the difference would be planting this compared to the onion base. Lastly, I had a tomato that I grabbed from the store. This one I will slice the top off and plant that out. You will see. Here are all my veggies to regrow. This will be a lot of fun to see what kind of results we will get from all these different store-bought veggie scraps. I decided to plant out these scraps in a Veggie raised bed instead of just growing them in a glass container because I really want to see if it makes sense to grow veggies like this. I know I can place them in water and get them to root and get a little growth from them, but I want to see how comparable regrowing veggies is to the standard way of growing veggies from seed and transplanting them out. Let's start with the potato. I will dig a hole at the end of the bed here, drop it in, and cover it up with some soil. For the onion base, I will just press it into the soil, root side down, and water it in a bit. Next up is the whole onion. I want to make sure I plant the root side down for this. I just dig a hole and place the onion in. I don't have to bury this super deep. It will grow right out from the top that's sticking out of the soil a bit. Now, let's get the ginger in. You can see the little nubs here. This is where the ginger will grow from, and it's a good sign that this will regrow nicely. I will plant this out and make sure not to bury it deep. The ginger root likes to grow near the top of the soil line. Let's grab the garlic that's already growing. I will plant these like I did the onion, not too deep, and I will allow a little bit of the growth to be sticking out of the soil. Now, the celery. We will press that in just like this. The same goes for the cabbage and also for the lettuce. When it comes to the carrots, I will bury the base of them and allow the green part to stick up out of the soil to help encourage some new leaf growth. The beets, I will plant just like I did the carrots, burying the root portion and keeping the leaves above the ground to allow for some of that new leaf growth. The turmeric, I planted just like I did the ginger root. For the tomato, I sliced off the top to see if the tomato would root from the stem, but I also left some seeds inside to see if the seeds would sprout and grow some new tomato plants. Then I just buried the top of the tomato, leaving the green growth on the top of the tomato out of the soil. Here is everything planted and watered in. You can see I basically filled this whole Veggie raised bed with veggies to regrow. Next, I threw a cover system onto the raised bed. I wanted to do this to keep the veggie scraps from getting cooked by the sun. The scraps haven't rooted yet, so I don't want them getting direct sunlight at this point. I draped over the top an additional 40% shade cloth to give the scraps a good environment as they try to root. 2 weeks later, I came out to see how everything was growing and removed the cover. You can see a lot of nice new green growth in here now. The potato leaves popped out of the ground and are looking healthy. They have a beautiful color on them. The onion base is doing great also. It now has 2 points of growth and they both look really good. The beet tops look amazing. The leaves have a healthy green color with a bit of a waxy look. Really impressed with these so far. The carrot tops are also thriving. So much new growth on them. Check that out. The celery looks good as well. New leaves are shooting out of the center. The cabbage base is showing a bit of new growth, but not anything considerable. There has been an exciting development with the tomatoes though. A few of the seeds sprouted and look super healthy. No growth from the green part of the tomato, but the seedlings look fantastic. The lettuce so far has been a bit of a letdown. Almost no new growth on this one. On the bright side, the garlic is looking perfect. Look how healthy and green that growth is. 10 days later, most of the veggie scraps were looking great and I was again impressed with the growth. The onion base was still growing well. You can see it here looking pretty nice. The new growth was a bit floppy though. The whole onion that I planted exploded into growth over the last 10 days. It went from not sprouting to vigorous growth in a short period of time. Look how thick and healthy the new leaves are. One of the beets was growing well, while the other one seemed to run into a roadblock. I thought it might have died, but I left it in the ground. Both carrots were thriving, and it seemed like every few days the growth on them was doubling. I was super happy to see the ginger root was starting to grow. You can see the green growth shooting up here. That really got me pumped. The new growth on the celery was looking good, but the base was starting to rot. I was still hopeful though that the plant would kick me out some future celery stalks. The tomato seedlings were looking great. A few more of them sprouted and were getting a bit cluttered, so I decided to thin a few of them out and just left the 2 healthiest seedlings to grow. The garlic was still crushing it, as you can see here. And the potatoes really blew up over the last 10 days. I know we will be getting a lot of potatoes from this plant. The lettuce only had a bit of growth left. The rest of it was rotting, which had me a bit worried. Looking back, I could have allowed the lettuce and the cabbage to root in some water before planting them out, but I wanted to see what would happen if I just took them and directly planted them into the raised bed. We're not going to get a harvest from those, but some of the other crops we're going to get some huge harvests from coming up later. Me and Tuck want to take a second to show some appreciation for everyone watching and who's a part of Team Grow. We're going to be giving away one of these jumbo Veggie raised beds. You can grow so much food in here. In the spring and summer, this thing was packed with food. It's slowing down just a little bit, but all you have to do to win this raised bed is just go to teamgrow.us and then a pop-up will come up. Just fill that out and you'll have your opportunity to win a Veggie raised bed, and you can be getting it prepped now so you can be growing some great food in the spring and summer. 11 days later, I went out to check on all the veggies. The ginger had 2 nice stalks growing and was doing great. The tomatoes were looking really nice. The seedlings I left after pruning were really big and the color of the leaves was beautiful. The carrots were looking magnificent. Big, healthy growth on both of them. The one beet top was also looking really great. Check out all the new healthy growth. Unfortunately, the other beet top had died. The onion bottom was doing good as well. Not that much growth since last I showed it, but it's still looking pretty good. The whole onion was thriving. Man, that thing is looking great. Really, really impressed with this one. The potato plant was crushing. Such nice, big, healthy growth. I love to see it. And the garlic was still looking good and growing really well. It's September 2nd today. Let's check out the results of some of these veggies that we regrew. Let's start out with this onion right here. This was just the bottom part of the onion. I just sliced it off, planted it, and this is what it looks like now, a couple months later. So I'm gonna pull it out. It looks like it ended up just being one, just almost like regular looking onion right here. So it's pretty cool. We turned that little bottom of an onion into like an own little onion plant, you can see. So this essentially looks like what would happen if you just bought an onion set. What I'm going to try to do is just take this, dry it out, and then I'll replant it and try to have it grow into a bigger onion next year. So it's almost like taking the bottom of an onion, converting it into an onion set, hopefully, and then planting this onion set, and then next year it'll be a big fat onion. So this worked out really good, better than I expected it even would. Really cool. Next up right here, we have the whole onion that I planted. This grew into like 4 different onion plants. So let's start with this one. Let's grab this here. Actually, it looks like it all might be connected. Let's pull these out. Ooh, wow. Yeah, it kind of separated itself. Look at that. Look how cool that is. So the one onion formed into like 4 separate onions. Let me see, if we just take this off here and here, I bet we could plant this whole entire thing, just like the one I showed you before. This will be like its own onion set, and we'll be able to grow whole onions out of this. So we've essentially taken one onion and turned it into 5 onions that we can replant, or we could even eat them. This whole thing combined looks like it's bigger than the original onion that I planted. So that's pretty cool. And one of these we'll try and I'll cut it open and see if it's good to eat. I'm sure it is good to eat. That's pretty unique though. I didn't think it was gonna all be connected like that. And we literally just converted one small onion into 5 onions that are bigger than what we started with. I would say that's a success as well. So 2 for 2 so far, especially when it comes to the onions. Let me just slice one of them open and just see what it looks like on the inside. It's a little dirty, but that's okay. Let's just slice it. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Perfect onion. I'll use this in some cooking, and then I'll save the rest to regrow again. Classic double regrow. Then let's check this out over here. Here's the beet that I replanted, and this thing, it's kind of funny because it like got much fatter and wider. I'm not sure what happened to the other beet top. Oh, here it is. I think it just died after some time. So this one didn't make it. Probably the heat was a little too much for it. This beet top is still doing good. And the cool thing about the beets is you can eat the greens. So we could just like take a lot of these greens, use them in salads or saute them. There's a lot of different stuff you can do with just the beet greens. But let's actually take this out, because if you remember what I started, oh look, it's growing its like own little kind of root, little bug in there, but that's okay. It started out as just a tiny, really thin little beet top. Now it's become a much thicker, bigger beet top. So what I'm gonna do is cut this open and see if it actually tastes pretty good. And this, we just got like a lot of extra growth. It didn't turn into like a regular beet like I thought it might, although it kind of did at the bottom, but it just got like bigger and wider and fatter. So let's just slice it open and see what we get. Tucks out here. Oh, it looks okay. I mean, we've got a little rot in the center, a bit dry, but I bet if you sauteed it up, it would be okay. Let me slice it a little more, then let me just taste it. Wipe a little of the dirt off. Let's get a taste of how it actually is. Good. It's actually delicious. It's super mild and overall just really good earthy flavor. So we took the top of the beet, made it much bigger, and got some more food out of it. And then we also got all the greens that we were able to harvest throughout the growing season. So I would say another success when it comes to regrowing some veggies. I mean, it's probably not as good as just planting a beet seed, but overall, pretty dang good. Let's check out these potatoes right here. Here's a potato plant. All I just did was just stick that whole potato in the ground. Actually, before we do the potato plant, let's move over to the carrots. We have the carrots right here. I just planted the top of the carrots. You can see them growing down there. And this is another one where we could use the leaves if we want. We could use them for like a chimichurri. We can add them to a pesto. We could just put them fresh on a salad. So there's a lot of things you can do with even just the greens when it comes to carrots. One thing you'll notice is these carrots plants started to flower. Carrots are a biennial, so it makes sense that after I regrew these, they started to flower, because it's kind of like the second year for a lot of these carrots. It could have also been due to the stress. Overall though, I think it came out pretty cool. I mean, we got a lot of growth out of it. So let's actually pull up some of these carrots and see what we get. Just by taking a peek at it, it looks like they didn't grow carrots straight down like a normal carrot would. Their roots are kind of like expanding off to the sides. So let's just pull them out and see actually what we got, and we'll let Tuck maybe taste one and see if it's Tuck approved. Let's see. Okay, here's the first one. It looks like it grew, like I said, some like mini carrots off the sides. Look at those. They're like long, thin carrots. I actually want to try one though, because it might be pretty good. This is like a long, thin carrot. It grew multiple of them. Let's see. First, let's get Tuck to try it over here. He looks like he's going to want to go for it. Let's see, buddy. He seems to be crunching away. It looks like it's Tuck approved. Let me try it now. See what it tastes like. It was flowering, so I could expect it to be like a little, you know, bitter and harsh, but let's try. Not too bad. Really strong carrot flavor. Not super sweet. A little bit green on the inside, probably because it was like flowering. I am surprised though. It was like taking this carrot top and kind of turning into a bunch of mini carrots coming off the side, as you can see. And again, we were also able to use the greens on it. And look, we still got another carrot over here. Pretty funny, it almost like, instead of growing down, it grew out, which makes sense, like those are where the roots came from. So it didn't have that classic long taproot that a carrot does, but it expanded off to the sides, and Tuck seems to be pretty keen on eating them. So far, all the things that I've tried have worked surprisingly well. There's gonna be some things that didn't work well that I'll show you, and some of those things might be because my own fault, which I'll expand on a little bit. But overall, so far, it's a great start to the whole regrowing veggie experiment. Let's check out these potatoes though. I have a really good feeling that these are gonna come out nice, just for how large the plants are. I thought it was awesome, like that I could just take the potato from the food store, literally just dropped it in the ground, and now we've got a whole potato plant. We're gonna dig it up and see what we ended up with. Let's pull, this potato plant should be pretty much finished. Let's pull it out. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't really hill these potatoes much, so we might have a few green ones. Oh my gosh. Dude, look at that harvest. This is from a potato plant from the store, just on the plant. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Look at all that food. Regrown, and there's more hidden underneath the soil. One potato. We took oh my gosh, look at the size of this one. We took a single potato from the food store, regrew it, and got all of that. Nature is incredible. Absolutely unbelievable. I bet there's more in here too. That is insane. Yeah, look, more. Oh my gosh, look at that harvest. I would say this is a massive success. I mean, I'm gonna eat some potatoes tonight for sure. I can't believe that came from a single potato. This is one of my best potato harvests of the year, especially from one plant, all of that. And I didn't even have to buy a seed potato. I just had a potato that I had around the house that was like basically regrowing on its own. You saw that, dropped it in, and an incredible harvest. I mean, absolutely blown away with this. Surprised. This is one where I guess you could just grab a potato from the store and stick it in the ground. I mean, I grow seed potatoes because I like growing specific varieties, but this is changed the way I'm going to think about things for sure. I mean, what a harvest. Look at the beauty of these potatoes. Oh my gosh. And then come over here. Check out the tomato. You saw the tomato, all it was just a single top of a tomato with some seeds in it. I pressed it into the ground right there, look. And all of these tomatoes plants started to shoot up, and they're loaded with fruit now. Look at this. Nice looking fruit. There's a fruit on the back that's starting to ripen. And then one that I'm super excited about too, come around the side. Come over here. This is something that I'm super surprised about and I'm really excited. Check this down here. Here's the ginger, and it's growing a ginger plant. Look at that. Here's the leaves. Here's some leaves as you move up here. Look at these leaves, beautiful. This thing is growing really nice. So I just literally took this ginger from the store, stuck it in the soil, as you saw, and now we're growing some ginger plants, and I bet the root is just expanding underneath. We're gonna end off with a lot more ginger than when we started with, simply by just, you know, sticking it in the ground. And then over here, this is where we had the garlic growing, so it finished. We still have these little pieces of garlic here. This one almost went circular on me and almost looks like an onion. But this garlic, I knew it wasn't going to, here's more over here. I knew it wasn't gonna turn into like a bulb. Just to go from like a single piece of garlic to a bulb, you need that cold weather. So I knew it wasn't gonna turn into bulbs. We were able to use the greens for a few things. Overall though, I wouldn't regrow garlic in the spring or summer like I did. I would regrow garlic about now in September, October, and then let that overwinter, and then next year it'll come up and form bulbs instead of just having the single pieces of garlic like we started to end with. This one just had to do with seasonality, why it didn't do well. But I'm sure if I planted garlic from the store at the right time, it would do really well and it would form bulbs and we would get a nice harvest from it. Right here is where I buried the turmeric. You can see it never really came up. It didn't rot though. And then I think there's another one in here. Yeah, right here. So they haven't rotted. And look, this one looks like it's just starting to root. So what I think I'm going to do is put this in a pot because I don't think it'll survive over winter. So we'll put these in pots and then try to keep regrowing them. They just didn't root for whatever reason. And I think they will root and start to grow if I put them in a pot. So for now, I'll just store them in here and then I'll move them to a pot a different time. Some of the other stuff that I tried to regrow didn't do great, and I'll go into why I think that was. I think it was mainly a lot of my fault that some of the stuff didn't regrow. Overall though, what I'm gonna do is come back in a few days, a week or so, once we start to get some ripe tomatoes, and we'll check out the tomato plants, we'll taste the tomatoes, and then we'll see if it ultimately is worth regrowing tomatoes. The time has finally come to harvest some of these tomatoes. All we did was just take the top of that tomato with some seeds in it, press it into the ground, and now look at all the tomatoes we have here. Look at these over here. Look how beautiful these are. Looking really nice. We're gonna harvest these and then try one or two, but just come up and look at the production here. Really nice. It's September 11th today. One of the reasons that these tomatoes have been ready so late is because I did actually plant them late. Look at this over here. I planted these essentially from seed in June, so 99 days ago. Let's grab some of these tomatoes though and actually taste them. Pretty nice looking tomatoes. Come in here, you can see like this is exactly where I put the top in. All the seeds just sprouted and shot up right from here. And then we had a couple plants that like just dominated and took over, and the production on them has been pretty nice. Let's actually taste one or two of these. This one looks really ripe. Let's taste this thing and see if it has a good flavor to it. Pretty good, relatively mild. Not the best flavor, definitely not as good as some of my tomatoes that I grow, like the Super Sweet 100 or anything like the Sun Gold Cherry, but still not bad for a regrowing one from the store. Let's try this other one because it looks different. One of these bigger ones here. These are more like egg shaped, you'll notice. Let's try this one. Looks pretty good. Juicy, a bit sourish, not super sweet. I think it could have got a little bit riper, but again, I mean, and that's insane. You can just take tomatoes from the store, stick them in the ground, and get your own tomato plants from it. A little bit more time has passed and more tomatoes are ripening up. Look at all of them. We're gonna grab some more of them to add to our harvest. We've got some nice ones over here. Slice these off, not too shabby. And we've got some ones back here. We'll grab most of these. One's looking good here. We'll grab this one up here. So the harvest's a little later than some of the other ones, but I did plant it from seed. The fact that we're still getting, man, this thing's really holding on to me, this asparagus. The fact that we're still getting some more harvest from this regrown tomato, I think is just, I think it's really awesome. It's been an incredibly fun experiment to do, and it's more successful than I thought it was going to be, especially when it comes to the tomatoes. Let's get these ones. This one here. And you can see there's still more up there that are ready to be harvested. The plants are starting to slow down a little bit. That's because it's getting cool here. Overall, a very nice harvest, especially when you include it with the other ones we've grabbed. Some of these tomatoes, it looks like the varieties are almost a little bit different. That's what's going to happen when you regrow a tomato that's like a hybrid. And typically when you plant a tomato that was a hybrid, the seed, the offspring isn't as good as the one before. That's just what's going to happen. You're not going to get those good traits from each parent. So like I tried before, the flavor wasn't amazing, but regardless, you could get tomatoes from the store, do what I did, cut the top off with a few seeds in it, stick it in the ground, and then be harvesting your own fresh tomatoes from it. Incredible. In October, the tomato plants were basically finished and the ginger root was still growing. So I decided I wanted to cut out the tomato plants right at the base. Then I ripped out the roots. This way I could get that ginger plant because it was still growing well, but it didn't have enough time to really produce a lot of ginger. So I just went in and picked up the ginger plant from the base, just pulled it out of the ground with my hands. Then I brought that over to a pot that I had filled with soil. Then I just dropped that ginger plant into the pot, covered it up with soil, and then watered it all in. This way I could take that ginger plant and bring it into the greenhouse to give it some more time to grow before the cold weather just kills it. If you want, you could try your hand at doing what I did and regrowing some food scraps. One thing I would suggest is that you use organic food scraps if you're going to get them from the store, because some of the non-organic stuff has like sprout inhibitors on it and you might not get those to actually like grow some roots and sprout. You could also just use some of your own homegrown veggies and try to regrow them. That's a good idea also. Even though some of the veggies didn't regrow into full veggies, for example, that onion bottom, it only grew into like a small onion set at the base, but we could still use some of those greens at the top, dice them up, and just use them as green onions. Overall, I think this was a really fun experience and I would definitely do it again. And if you have an idea like you want to try it out, I suggest you do, especially if you have kids or something, or even if you're an adult. It's just really fun to eat something, have the food scraps of it, and then that's something most people would like throw away or compost. Instead, you put that in the ground and regrow it into more food. So the whole thing was just like a lot of fun. And something like the potato surprised me immensely with the size of harvest that we got from that. And even if it doesn't work out perfectly, if it's something that gets you excited and gets you into the garden more, then your whole garden will do better as a result. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got something out of it. If you did enjoy this video, then share this one with your friends. Me and Tuck had a blast making it. It took us, almost a whole year to get all this and to give you guys the results. So we would really appreciate if you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then just share this one with everyone. We wanted to send a thank you to one of our new channel members, Sandy Wilson. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. To show appreciation for everyone who's a part of the team and watches, me and Tuck are doing that giveaway. So just go to teamgrow.us. We'll put a link down below. A pop-up will come up, and then just fill that out, and you could have your chance of winning a raised bed. It's the perfect time to get one of those raised beds in and start filling it up for the spring. Tuck and James will be back to you again real soon. We out.